The Jets Roundtable is back, and we got the full crew in the house, but the one thing we still don't have is a win. Well, welcome on into the Jets Roundtable. I'm Richie. We got Jake Asman and Matt O'Leary joining. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to this brand new YouTube channel live every Thursday at 3 p.m. EST. Let's get into it. We're talking to Jake. We're talking to Matt. I mean, what is going on, folks? We got a lot to break down because there's a lot of news, a lot of trade speculation. There's drama over there. This player's posting that. Aaron Glenn is trying to get his first win. Wow, there's a giant storm that we need to figure out how to navigate as Jets fans. But Jake, we missed you on the show. How you been, my man? Let us know.
I'm doing as well as anyone can be that makes their living talking about one team year round, and that team is the only team in the league without a win. So I'm hanging in, man. It's been rough. This is about as down bad as I've been talking about the Jets ever, really. So it's uncharted territory.
Well, that's why you have me and Matt and the entire Jets community tuning in, to all the Asmaniacs. Like, to be honest, man, that's what gets me through these tough seasons is the community. And I really do think the Jets fan base is just a completely different element than any other fan base across the league, in my opinion. Maybe biased, maybe not, but we're special, man. Matt, how you doing, brother? How you feeling today?
I'm doing okay. Kind of the same thing that Jake said, and would like to also throw in there that I do content for the Winless Islanders too. So it's a tough go for me right now, but excited to be with the two of you guys hanging out talking Jets ball.
Well, I did reach out to Jake to have him on my Knicks channel eventually. Jake, I still want to get that happening because that's where I'm at. I'm looking forward to the Knicks. I mean, baseball got disappointed. The Mets didn't make the playoffs. The Yankees did not go on a deep playoff run. I mean, the Knicks are like the only thing we can hope that can save New York because the Jets are absolutely trash. Now, I mean, the Giants could save it if they go on a run with Jackson Dart. But what a dark time it is right now. And I'm relying on the Knicks, Matt, because I know covering multiple bad teams is not a good thing. But we got a lot I wanted to break down with you guys. And shout out to everybody tuning into the chat right now. We appreciate you tuning in here on the Jets Roundtable. Let's get straight into it, man. So the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is the trade situation, man. The trade deadline is looming, and it seems like the Jets are going to be sellers. They have not won a football game, and it seems like there's a guy named Breece Hall that could be on the way out. He made a social media post saying #free20, and then Aaron Glenn was asked about it, saying he's still our guy. We're not trading him. We've heard that before. Matt, is Breece Hall getting traded? Because Aaron Glenn said it's not going to happen, but correct me, like where was the last time we heard a coach say he's not getting traded and gets traded the next week? I feel like that happened recently, didn't it?
I mean, they said that with Jamal Adams, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's who it was.
Who was it? David Gettleman said we didn't sign him to trade him about Odell Beckham, and then suddenly he was traded shortly thereafter.
And so Josh Rosen, he's our guy.
He's our guy. My favorite graphic of all time. I'm very on the fence personally about trading Breece Hall because I think you can make a compelling case on either side to, if he's not going to be here and you want to get draft capital back, I totally understand that. I worry about what this offense is going to look like without him for the rest of the year. And I also think you can make a strong case that, it's worthwhile to bring him back for a rookie quarterback next year. But if you're asking me what I think is going to happen, I think the Jets end up trading him. About him coming back, I think I put it at like a 25 or 30% chance on Jake's show that he's back with the Jets next year. And if that's how they feel about it, and who knows, maybe behind the scenes, Breece is like, I'm not re-signing here. So if that's the case, then you might as well get something for him. But I just don't think it's going to be a ton that you're getting back in return for Breece Hall.
Yeah, I think the return would be 4th round pick, maybe packaging that with Breece. Is that out of the ballpark or is it unrealistic? What package are you thinking about, Matt? Quick.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a 4th round pick, somewhere around that, maybe a 5th.
Jake, do you think the Jets would be smart to trade away Breece? Where are you at right now? Because obviously the way you look at it is this coaching staff and this regime is going to evaluate, is he part of the long-term plans or not? And this a guy that's valuable. He's a good football player. You hate to see them get traded, but your thoughts about the Breece Hall situation? What are your expectations heading into the deadline?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, I could see them trading him still, despite what Glenn said. I actually do think it will depend on what these next 2 games look like. I think if they don't have a win at the bye, they'll trade him. And the likelihood of him being traded goes up. I do think if they can win one of these 2 games, they may be more likely to keep him because they'll look at it like, hey, let's try and build something in the second half. It gives us a better chance to win, especially with Garrett Wilson's injury status being unknown, how long he's exactly going to be out. So I still think trading him is a possibility. I wouldn't do it, though, unless I'm getting at least a 4th-round pick. Like, I'm sorry, a 5th-round pick for Breece Hall, I just don't think it's worth it. So unless I'm getting at least a 4, and even then that kind of feels light, but that might be the best you can do. I wouldn't trade him personally, but I think if they got a 5th, they might still be willing to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, and the worst part about trading Breece is that Braylon Allen's hurt. It's not even like we can get Braylon Allen now being the workhorse because that's pretty – I mean, Isaiah Davis is not a number 1 running back. I mean, let's just keep it a buck here. So, but if the Jets lose both games and you're in the bye 0-8, hey, bro, they might have to make those decisions. Are there any other players you guys are seeing can get traded? You know, we've seen Jermaine Johnson's name just in terms of other teams reaching out to the Jets about him. Quinnen Williams is arguably, you know, the best player on this football team in terms of probably has the most value, in my opinion. I mean, outside of Garrett, but he's not going anywhere. Sorry, Dan Orlovsky. Enough with that nonsense. But we'll get into that. Don't you worry. Matt, is there any other players? Michael Carter II, perhaps? Will McDonald? Like anybody on this team, do you think is up for grabs, or do you think it's going to be more quiet for the Jets?
I would throw Quincy Williams in there too, but he has to get healthy over the next couple of weeks because he's been out with an injury since the Tampa Bay game. But they kind of already made their decision when they signed Jamie Sherwood to that contract. When you have Quincy Williams expiring, I just find it hard to believe they're going to pay 2 linebackers like $15+ million a year. I don't see it personally. So if you can get anything for Quincy Williams, I mean, San Francisco, we know Robert Saleh's there, but not only that, they just lost Fred Warner for the season at linebacker. So that kind of seems like an obvious fit. I'd get them on the horn and see if they're interested.
Jake, is there a world where everybody's traded? And literally not everybody, but like we see a fire sale. Is there a world where you see that as a possibility? We have Adirondack Fly Guy says, trade everyone that is not on rookie contracts. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Jets fans that just wants to get rid of people. Some Jets fans are attached to the guys. But then other Jets fans are like, well, the guys who we're attached to, we've not won with, so let's get rid of them and start from scratch. Is there a world where the Jets actually blow this up at the deadline?
Well, I mean, the guys on expiring deals like Breece, Quincy, you know, maybe even a guy who's not technically on an expiring deal, but you can get out of his contract for a minimum cap hit, and Michael Carter, maybe you can get something for him. Like those guys could be traded. What I don't think is going to happen is they trade Quinnen or Jermaine Johnson at this deadline. Like that to me would be a fire sale. If you're trading guys who have years of control and are still really good football players, that would surprise me. Obviously, they're not going to trade Garrett or Sauce. They just extended them. But I would be surprised if, you know, we're talking fire sale and like everyone's getting traded. That would surprise me because this regime needs to win some games here, man. Like if they make the team that much worse, I don't think there's any guarantee that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are here next year if they go out there and they win one game. Like, I don't know. So I don't think it's going to be that crazy.
Yeah, this is a dark time for us Jets fans. You know, you go from firing Saleh last year after London, and then Jeff Ulbricht's the guy, and then you bring in Aaron Glenn, and then he's out here winless throughout his first 6 weeks. I mean, Matt, what's your biggest takeaway of why the Jets are winless? Like, if there was one reason, obviously each game has their own story to tell, but collectively speaking, what have you seen from this Jets football team? The biggest reason why they don't have a win? Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is it everything all in one? Like, if there was one thing that comes to mind why the Jets are winless, what would you say?
Curses. Just that the team is cursed, maybe. I don't think it's the issue is I don't think it's one reason for each one of these games. I think like the first 5 weeks of the year, the defense was pretty dreadful. And then they are awesome against Denver, finally create a turnover, hold the Broncos to 13 points, and they still lose. I just think their coaching's a part of it. Like the issues at the end of the game and at the end of the first half. I mean, your reaction video that you clipped was an absolute all-timer, Richie, for that. So I enjoyed watching that because I was doing the same thing, just not on camera. So I think it's a mix of everything right now for this team. They're really hurting themselves. The offense is really bad, and now they're without Garrett Wilson. That's scary. The defense finally looks good, but will that continue, or is that just a 1 week outlier? There's just a lot of question marks.
You know what I'm noticing as us Jets creators? I don't know if you guys are experiencing the same thing on your channels, but when the Jets are bad, which they've been bad for years, my views go up, and it's not from Jets fans. I'm noticing there's a trend around a casual, not a casual, but a non-Jets fan. They look at the Jets and the Jets fan base as a means of entertainment. Like, oh, let's watch this Jets fan freak out after a loss. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like other fan bases, like a random fan of the 49ers or the Tex, any NFL team, think about it. They look at the Jets fan base, us, as a means of let's watch these Jets fans go crazy because of how bad their football team is. Jake, have you noticed that you have more people tuning into your shows that are non-Jets fans that are just like being, entertained by your sadness and your rants?
Yeah, I think the Jets are a national punchline. I think right now you could argue they're the worst franchise in sports. Seriously, they got the longest playoff drought. They haven't won more than 7 games in a decade, let alone had a winning season in a decade. So I definitely see where you're coming from. I think the fan base is an elite fan base. You have to be. There's no such thing as a bandwagon Jet fan, but I think the perception of the Jets, I don't know if it's ever been lower, especially when you look at the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers is there. And whether he's playing great or not, it's not really relevant. He's 4-1 and has an opportunity tonight to get the 5-1. You combine that with how awful Fields looked in their nationally televised game where the coach looked like a dumbass. Let's call it for what it is. And right now the Jets look like the biggest joke in sports. And Aaron Glenn's got 11 games to try and change some of that narrative, because right now, how could anyone disagree with that perception that they look like a clown show?
And to add is more salt in the wound, Justin Fields was 4-2 on that same Steelers team last year.
Yep.
And
Coaching,
he's 0-6.
Coaching. That's all it is.
Jets.
I think the Jets are the worst coach team in the league, and Aaron Rodgers goes over to a real coach team, and it's not like he's playing that much better than he was with the Jets, but he's in the right situation. They win games, and Aaron Glenn talked about all these things that were going to be different, and if anything, things have been worse, not better, in anything he promised.
Yeah, and I look at Justin Fields as the Jets quarterback. You saw him succeed from a winning standpoint in Pittsburgh. You're hopeful that the Jets can be good around him and he can do enough, but you never really thought he was going to be a long-term guy. Justin Fields is exactly who I thought he was. When the Jets brought him in, I kind of had an idea what we were getting. I never, ever expected him to become the long-term answer. Of course, as a part of you as a Jets fan, you're hopeful, hey, maybe if he can click. But no, there's something in his game that goes all the way back to the days in Chicago that he needs to be more, aggressive. And he's just not letting it rip. So, Matt, what's your evaluation of Justin Fields at this point of his season? We've had a lot of people look at the numbers heading into last week's game, like, oh, well, look at the numbers. Well, we know that there's context that needs to be had with those. And the game against Denver was putrid. The game against Buffalo was disgusting. Aaron Glenn decided not to go to Tyrod Taylor, which I think if he did, it would have probably ended up in a W. So what's your evaluation of Justin Fields? And do you think the leash is a lot shorter heading into this week?
I hope it's shorter, because what we saw against Denver, that's just not competitive. I don't know how an NFL quarterback is doing that. And that's, I get it. Denver has a really good defense, but -10 net passing yards is just, that should never happen in an NFL game. But I think he's, for the most part, been what I thought he would be, where there's weeks where you go, okay, like he looks good and maybe this can work. And then there's weeks like, against Buffalo and Denver where you're going, oh my God, I don't know how this guy is in the league. Unfortunately, with him, it's such a roller coaster ride. And for him to be the long-term answer going into this season, my ask for him was consistency, because we've seen the flashes, but he just can't put and stack games after one another. And unfortunately, with how he's looked through the first 6 games, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to prove over the next 11 that he's the long-term starting option here.
Well, get ready to learn Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. Jake, are you looking at these quarterbacks already? Are you doing any preliminary draft research in October or what, Jake?
Starting to. Yeah. I mean, you have to, right? They got the bye week coming up. I'll probably have some draft guys on the show then, because, like, come on now. Like, what else do we have? It sucks, but I think so. I mean, Justin Fields, we knew it was a lottery ticket in the first place, so I'm not shocked. I am shocked how awful he was on Sunday. I mean, that was just historically bad. So it's brutal. He's not the guy. He is what he is. He's a career backup at this point going forward. And I mean, anyone expecting, Justin Fields to be the guy at this point, you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. So I think you got to start looking at these quarterbacks that are coming out, and we'll see where the Jets are picking, but I'd be shocked if they're not at least in the top 5, meaning they'd be in position to draft one of these guys.
Any early draft crushes on any of these quarterbacks that you're like, that's the guy that would fit exactly what we want? Or are you still too early in the evaluation process to say that?
Way too early. I do like Mendoza because of his name. I think Fernando Mendoza is just a cool name. So I'm just going off vibes and names right now. I haven't sat down. Yeah, like I just think it'd be fun. I haven't watched any tape. I haven't even watched full games of any of these guys. You know, I'm a casual college football fan during the year. So I watched part of that Oregon and Indiana game last week. I've watched Ty Simpson a few times for Bama. I watched Sellers once at the beginning of the year, but I don't pretend to be a draft guy like a Dom C or a Dylan Terriman or any of these great people in our community that do it. So I haven't started yet. And this will be the earliest I even start to contemplate it, which is sad.
I always resist it. I'm always the one that wants to just resist the draft talk, but it's hard every single week. Now, Jake, you're not wrong, because I'm not going to lie. The name of Jackson Dart, just how cool the name was, is what intrigued me on the prospect more than anything. And then I dove deep into his tape. I'm like, Jackson Dart's the guy. And that obviously I made it known he was the guy I loved last year's class. So there's nothing wrong with loving a name. If Fernando Mendoza rolls off the tongue, let's go after that. Matt, you're a nice draft guy yourself. What's your early evaluation of these quarterbacks?
Well, I don't know if you saw Talking Jets, but Green Bean looked at the headshot of Fernando Mendoza and is already out. He doesn't like the look. He doesn't think that he's the guy to around the New York Jets, which he looks a little young. He looks a little baby faced, which is fine. But right now, I think Fernando Mendoza has been my favorite watch so far of all the quarterbacks. You know, I know he had a tough week against Texas, but I kind of like John Mateer. I think he has a little bit of that moxie. And Dante Moore, I think, has played well. So it's not the names that we thought were, there he is, Fernando Mendoza. He's not the answer. The
headshot's not convincing.
No, too clean looking. He looks like maybe he could be a finance guy on Wall Street. But I don't know.
Man, New York. Maybe that's exactly what we needed, is a finance guy. You know, the swag doesn't work. The West Coast, where is he? I think he's from Florida. The West Coast kid of Sam didn't work here, working somewhere else. The Utah kid of Zach didn't work. Maybe we got to get a nice Florida finance type of quarterback. You know what I mean? But man, it's brutal. It is brutal out here that we have to be talking about this. But the Jets are giving us no chance. No other chances here to talk about it. But I think the Jets going after a quarterback is going to be interesting. Now, let's get back into today's Jets and not focus on the 2026 draft. Someone in the chat is going absolutely nuts. He's saying trade Garrett Wilson. Now, Darren Orlovsky's out there trying to push a narrative that the Jets are wasting Garrett Wilson. We should trade him. First of all, it's never going to happen. Garrett Wilson went out there on Instagram today, and he had this to say. Makes him an absolute gem. Will Parkinson brought it up on X, and Garrett Wilson posted it, and his caption is "never wasted" in response to Darren Orlovsky, basically saying that Garrett Wilson is being wasted. I mean, what more can we see from Garrett Wilson, bro? Like, we are so lucky to have a guy like him. I mean, he has every reason to just turn against this team. He signed an extension. He's never won here. He's never had a quarterback. Garrett Wilson's going nowhere, bro. He's a guy you build around. He's someone that is going to help out a young quarterback next year. What's your thoughts of the trade talk with Garrett Wilson that Dan Orlovsky is trying to push on the media side of things, Jake?
Yeah, look, I think Orlovsky is completely uninformed on this, to be honest, guys. I mean, Garrett Wilson just signed an extension that hasn't even kicked in yet. He made the decision to commit to the Jets. They're not trading him. And he's having a phenomenal season despite how bad the quarterback play has been for a lot of these games. So, yeah, I mean, we all feel for Garrett because he's obviously a great player who hasn't been around the Jets and experienced any sort of real team success, but he's a leader. They voted him captain, and I'm glad he's a part of this. And I just hope at some point, just like Mike Evans had to kind of go through something similar at the beginning of his career, he gets a chance to experience winning because he's been loyal to the franchise. He's been great with the fans, and he's probably the most beloved player on the team right now. So, just like Mike Evans had to stick it out through bad situations, coaches, quarterbacks. He finally had Brady. Now has Baker, won a championship, and is one of the best receivers ever. I feel like Garrett, if he stays on this path, maybe could have something similar one day. At least I hope.
Another wide receiver that has a similar story that reminded me of that is Terry McLaurin. You know, in Washington was brutal there when just absolute brutal. And they finally get a new owner. And now look what's going on. I know he's hurt right now, but the Commanders are a good football team. And another Ohio State wide receiver. Now, I think that when it comes to this week's game, we got to get some quick previews and predictions. I mean, who the heck is predicting a Jets win at this point? You got the Carolina Panthers that are coming in to MetLife Stadium. And by the way, the Jets decided not to have a bye week, which I think is important. Some teams elect to have their bye week. If you guys did not know, when you are in London, an international game, the NFL gives you an opportunity to elect to have the bye week after or not. The Jets decided not to have the bye week. So now they are playing right after this game. They're at home against the Carolina Panthers. Matt, where are you headed into this game? And the weird thing about that Sunday game against the Broncos is all of the issues that was there throughout the entire season, penalties and defense and turnovers, were kind of fixed, but then a new problem came up in the surface, and it was incompetent coaching at the end of the first half, and it was awful offense. What do you want to see in this game in order for the Jets to somehow pull off their first win? Because the Jets are not favorites in this game, but the spread is a little too tight. I feel like they're giving the Jets a little too much love.
Yeah, I guess the positive looking at this game is Carolina's been awful on the road. They're 0-3, and they're averaging 15 points per game offensively on the road, and they're allowing over 30 points. A lot of that's obviously inflated by losing, I think it was 42-13 to New England or something like that. So they're not a great road team. Their defense is pretty good against the run, but I think the Jets, this is a game where like Breece Hall has to have 25 carries. I don't think Justin Fields can throw the ball more than like 15 times in this game without Garrett Wilson. I don't know what their passing attack's going to look like. So we need to see an old school, grinded out, ugly football game in order for the Jets to win this.
Arian Smith, #1 wide receiver season, baby. He's have like 5 catches this year for like 8 yards. That's a guess, but without Garrett Wilson, Jake, is there any hope of the Jets getting their first win this season? What's your expectations heading into Sunday?
Look, without him, they're still only a 1.5 point underdog, so it's not crazy. I mean, if the defense plays well, similar script, right? Force a turnover, get a boost from your special teams unit. I thought Kane being back on the kick returns was huge. That set up 3 of the Jets' points. I think there's a path to it. I mean, Carolina, as Matt brought up, has had issues on the road. Bryce Young is 1-15 in his career on the road. So, look, these are winnable games coming up. Over the next 3, you're playing 3 teams in your weight class. If you can't win now, no one's going to care about your wins against the Saints and the Bills resting their starters in early January in Week 18 as your 2 wins this year. So you got to find a way to win some games. This feels winnable. I'm not picking the Jets, but I wouldn't be absolutely flabbergasted if they won this game.
Yeah, I feel like the weird thing about Justin Fields too is he has those games where he looks good. Could this be that game? He looked good in week 1 and that was it. After week 1, we haven't seen that version of him. And that's the Justin Fields experience you saw in Chicago. He'd have a game where he looks fantastic, but he has not looked like that. Maybe we get that version of Fields, who knows? And the one positive I'll say about this team that I'm actually definitely keeping a close eye on is Jarvis Brownlee. I mean, he looked really good in his first start. What's the plan with Michael Carter II? Like, is he not, because he's healthy now heading into this week. He's a slot. Brownlee steps in the slot. He's way better. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Matt, what are your thoughts of that? And Jake, I know you got to run now at 3:30, so we'll let you go. But we appreciate you tuning into the Jets Roundtable as always, Jake. And make sure you guys go check out the Jake Asman show later this evening. Anything you want to say, Jake, before I let you go?
Go Jets, and hang in there, Jet fans. Thank you guys for still supporting our channels and allowing us to do this full time, despite how bad the franchise is. The fans remain the best in sports.
Absolutely. Well said, Jake. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Always. All right, Matt, we got we got to hold on some positives before we get out of here. Is Jarvis Brownlee a positive that I can be excited about or what?
Yeah, absolutely. They have him under contract for 2 more years after this on his rookie deal. Looked really good in his first action. I guess, he played a handful of snaps the week prior, but he was, starting in this game. I don't think you can go back to Michael Carter unless Brownlee gives you a reason to. He looked too good against Denver for me to take him out. He's run around. He's not afraid to make tackles, which is an issue for this secondary, and created a turnover in his, first real action with the Jets. So I keep running him out there.
Yeah, definitely a big positive. He looks like Like, he feels like the player that Aaron Glenn is trying to build, the physicality, the energy. Like, he's felt like a spark plug. And Jermaine Johnson, of course, coming back helps that out. And it was refreshing to see this defense finally look good, but no one's going to remember that defensive game against the Broncos unless they start getting consistent and start playing better football every single week. And now we got this Bryce Young-led Panthers team that actually has some confidence. So it's not going to be an easy game for the Jets, but hopefully they can come out on top. What do you want to see from the Jets to really start like keeping hope alive, Matt, in terms of this regime? Because they're not giving people any reason to believe in Aaron Glenn. He's saying the wrong things in the media. He has incompetent things at the end of first halves. He's just coaching games and losing. I mean, is it as simple as just start winning and then we'll start believing, or is there more nuance to it that you want to see in order to actually have confidence in Aaron Glenn knows what he's doing?
The winning is certainly going to help, and that has to happen sooner rather than later. Like, if they're 0-11, I'm not going to really care about, what happens the final 5 games at that point. But I think, it starts with being more aggressive. I think what we saw at the end of the first half was honestly embarrassing. Like, you go for it on 4th down, you fake a punt, and then you're too afraid to keep going for it after that because you don't want to give Denver more time. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then at the end of the game, didn't really seem like he knew where they were on the field. He was talking about sending Nick Folk out there for a 65 or 68-yard field goal. And it would have been a long one, but it would have been like a 61-yard field goal. That's a big difference, 61 to 68 yards. So I think he thought they were 5 yards further back than what they actually were. So just a little bit more self-awareness from Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and I think the aggressiveness is something I really hope gets there, because the one thing about Dan Campbell's Lions is they were always aggressive, and it feels like the conservative nature of this football team is definitely one thing I'm a little worried about, bro. Like, when you're a defensive-minded head coach, I really hope that he's not stubborn in a ground and pound, winning with defense type of mindset, because that's not going to win you football games in this league, and they're 0-6 for that reason. So I hope that we get a little bit more aggressive here. Are we going to see more? Is this going to be the rookie breakout party on offense for both Mason Taylor and Arian Smith? Or is it just going to be one of those games that there's no productivity through the air at all? Because without Garrett Wilson, someone's got to step up through the air.
I think if it's any of them, I have more faith in Mason Taylor. They just haven't really used Arian Smith. And like you said, maybe it's the week they're kind of forced into it because there's no Garrett Wilson. But he has 4 catches on the season for like 20. I think it's 24 catches for 24 yards is standing out to me. Yeah, dog, there he is. But the Panthers have struggled a little bit against tight ends this year. I think Mason Taylor leads the league, not the league, leads the team in receiving yards this week.
He will lead the league one day, Matt. He will lead the league one day. And another thing that was absolutely mind-bending that the Jets did not do offensively last week, Breece Hall had 0 targets through the air.
Stupid.
I mean, what are we doing? Remember we heard Aaron Glenn say, we're going to use Breece Hall this way, that way. Like, what are we doing? Not even one attempt. It's not like, all right, we tried and failed. I think Breece should be the workhorse. I think it's a good way to boost his trade value and also show that he is someone that could put the defense on his back. Like, no swing passes, no screens. You saw the Broncos, like, their offensive scheme, even though the Jets were able to shut it down, like the swing passes, the screen, it's like, the fluidity of their offense, the fake boots to roll, like, it's so night and day difference. We were really excited about Tanner Rankshon earlier this season, Matt. How do you feel about Tanner at this point of the season? Because it's definitely taken a step back.
Yeah, it for sure is taking a step back. And one of the things that he needs to do is get Breece Hall more involved in the passing game. I think it's absolutely ridiculous for how this team is constructed not to have Breece Hall catching at least 3 to 5 passes a game, whether it's on a screen or lining him up out wide, whatever you do, just try to get the ball in his hands. I mean, we saw in week 1, he only had 2 catches, but there are 2 really big plays in that game. And they just have kind of gone away from that over the last few years. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, man. I really hope the Jets win. I'm rooting for a win every week. And I know that pisses some people off, but I just want to get a taste of victory, man. It's really tough to deal with this. And now with the Patriots coming up, and now they're in first place of this division. Can you believe that the Patriots are now in first place, Matt?
It never ends. They won't go away, I guess. They had a few years where they weren't very good, but Drake May looks awesome. They have a really good coach, and they're right back in the mix.
I mean, at least we have the Miami Dolphins, even though we couldn't even beat them. It'd be nice if we were 1-5 and they were 0-6, but no, it's flipped around because we couldn't beat them in that game. But hey, man, we got a lot to see. No Garrett Wilson this week, so we'll see other guys step up in his place. We appreciate everybody tuning into the Jets Roundtable live every Thursday at 3 p.m. EST. We appreciate it, guys, big time. Make sure you guys subscribe, and shout out to everybody in the chat that has been tuning on in. Matt, anything you wanted to say to the people before we wrap things up, my man?
Thank you for continuing to support us, even though our team isn't very good. I appreciate it.
Very well said, man, because like I said at the top of the show, the community is what keeps this going. We're all in this together, and we're all suffering together, and we will all be celebrating and joyous together one day. I believe that. I really, really do. I don't know when, Matt, but I believe it will happen. And I will continue to hope that it will happen with this version of the Jets, even though I'm holding on as much as I can, bro. I really, really am. We're out of here, folks. We'll see you next time. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your day.